like I said. All right, we are live. Hello, Jesse. How are you? And Jordan's right here with me. So, hey, quick update before we do anything. I just want to let you guys know um, both of your packages were dropped off at the post office this morning, and they are on their way.
Oh,
So that's great. So you guys should be getting them in a few days. So once
you
again,
just
thank you
reminded
guys.
me of something.
Yeah, go ahead.
Uh, that package that I sent to Jim, or was going to send to Jim for Largo,
Yeah.
I mistakenly
Oh,
believed that
Mondo.
the one that I believe I accidentally thought I sent.
Hey.
It turns out I did not send Largo's,
Oh,
and I sent someone else to someone else's and believed it was Largo's
okay.
because I just found the box in the car today.
Oh, you did. And welcome. I'm sorry for the lack of an epic intro there, Jesse. But hey, how's it going? Welcome.
He's just not
And
so great badger today.
just want to say hi to Gojatron. He's listening as he travels from work. So once again, if you just missed it, and Bill, while you're here, I have some news. So just hello, Bill. Hello, Rolando. How are you? Rolando, those toy hunts are great. Love seeing all that stuff on Instagram. So keep those coming. You got some good stuff. And Jim's here. Granted, Jim with a nice little heart. I heart you, sir. Um,
Hopefully he caught what I said.
okay, yeah. And what I was saying is, everyone's package has gone out. So thank you guys. I really appreciate you guys making those purchases. They're all out. They've been scanned. They're tracking, and they're ready to go. So you guys should be getting them pretty soon. I sent everyone tracking numbers, but I did check when I came home today. That pirate ship is pretty cool. You got all your stuff right there. You just click right on the tracking number. It says it was scanned in. So everything was great. So the purpose of today's too many toys. What to do with them? Come on, guys. We all have
You
too many. I can't be the only one.
you
So
I
buy
have a lot.
I did have a lot. So the purpose is to really just have a discussion about the future of collecting and maybe just bounce off you guys and see how you guys handle these things. I did prepare just a couple of quick words here. So I'm just going to buzz right through them and set the stage, and then maybe we'll go around and we'll answer some questions. So first of all, I just want to thank everyone for being here. For those that have been here with me through this journey, thank you so much. Your support and encouragement has made what would have been an otherwise dreadful experience of decluttering and selling my things a rather fun and enjoyable one. So thank you so very much for that. Now, for anyone who's just joining us that's never tuned in or hasn't been here for the last couple of weeks, here's a quick recap. I've been collecting toys on and off for many years. Some I had as a kid, some I just thought were cool and bought as an adult. I've had most of them displayed at some point, whether in package or loose. Some were just put in a box and forgotten after I purchased them. But as work and family life took more and more of my time, I pushed the toys aside and kept them, always wanting someday to return to my beloved hobby. I've been content just letting them sit in my garage or storage units for many years, as I knew that someday, I would do something. But that day has never come. I've dabbled in online selling in the past for various reasons, and I'm just going to let you know it's not very fun. I don't have fun doing that. So just a couple months ago, I met someone who was doing a local toy show, and I thought this was a great opportunity to knock out a lot of clutter in one fun swoop. Go to a toy show, meet some people, do some fun stuff, and declutter. A real win-win. And that didn't work out as planned. So, like many problems we all face, folks, just talking through them helps. Well, let's talk about it, guys. What do you want out of your collection? Are you getting that? Um, you know, is it the fulfillment of completion? Is it nostalgia? Is it the hunt? Or is it an investment for you? All of these things are valid. For me, it's a little bit of this and a little bit of that, but mostly nostalgia and the hunt itself. I love just coming across a weird, unique item that I remember and snatching it up. Nothing feels better for me than picking something out of a bin at a toy show that I used to have. So you know, if I don't care much about completion, I don't care much about the value. But don't get me wrong. I mean, if something I have is worth more than what I paid for it, then that's great. And if collecting for those or other reasons or why you do this, that's great too. I'd love to hear your point of view. Um, you know, and then the things I want to get out of this hobby and the things that prompted me to do this are, you know, one, I want to have my collection displayed in a way that's accessible for me to enjoy. Meaning, I don't want it sealed and hermetically sealed in a case. I want to be able to take these items out and enjoy them from time to time. I want to display my toys in a way that's creative and practical. Having a great play set or something set up is nice, but when you got to take it apart and dust it every couple of weeks, it could be complicated. Um, and just lead to you know uh, maybe too much work or too much maintenance, and then you wind up just packing it in a box and sealing it in a bag. And I don't want to focus on just one line or another. I want a complete conglomeration of all my toys, a complete multiverse of madness. Everything everywhere all at once, just like when I was a kid. He-Man, he's riding Godzilla. Transformers and GI Joe are together. Everyone, it's madness, and that's what I want. I want a mix of figures, vehicles, and play sets. So I'm mostly going to stick with my 1/18 scale. It's always done it for me in the past, and I'm not opposed to any other thing like that. But then the fifth thing and the final thing I want from my collection is I want to be able to have enough room printing, crafting, paper craft, casting, models, dioramas, and more. So uh, now let's go to you guys, and those are the things that I like. Let's check in with chat real quick. We've got when someone Jim says when someone asks me to describe my collection, I tend to reply excessive. Yes, it is. And that was another point I was going to make was and the other guys could chime in is how do the people in your life see your collection or your hobby? Because for me, almost everyone in my life is what you'd call a normie. They're not into this kind of stuff. They don't really get it most of the time. Like some people see my collection and they go like, you do this for money? Like, that's one of the first things like I guess people can wrap their head around is like, oh, that must be worth money. That's why you do it. But it's not. It's something else. Um, and then Gojitron says, Jim, if yours is excessive, what's mine? That is the question. And then, what is the limit? Is it what is everyone's kind of limit on their thing? Mine happens to be space, but there's other reasons why it could become a problem. It could be financial reasons. Some people could be spending too much on this damn stuff, or could need money for other things and have to liquidate and do that. I've heard stories like that before. Uh, Other times it's just personal. It may just be a thorn in the side of your relationship or your family life. For me, it's space. That's the biggest one. Those other things exist, but one of the things I tell friends and relatives that come over that see it, and some of them are appalled by how much stuff I have. I explain that I don't do it for them. I'm doing it for myself. So, this is my house, and these are the things that I like, and my family's cool with it. So, if you're not, then that's fine too. You don't have to get it. It's for me. I don't do it to present to the world at large as a brag or anything like that. If you're not impressed by it, by all means, move on.
Everyone
And
has their thing.
that's right, Jordan. Yeah. So more excessive is how Jim would describe Gojitron's collection. So I'll go with Jordan. You first, man. How's your collection? How long have you been doing it, and is it excessive?
Well, it's excessive because I don't have a lot of space.
Okay.
but I've been collecting for seriously since probably about 2013, 2014.
Gotcha.
And my
And
family's totally supportive.
oh, they love it then. They get into it too. I mean,
My
is
my
grandpa
grandpa loves it. He had all bunch of little figures.
hi
That's
Brick?
his thing. My grandma had uh, uh, plushies, I think it was.
Sure. There's a lot of people that collect a lot of things. I had an uncle that collected honeymooner plates. They were like his most valued collection, his prized possessions. They meant nothing to me, but I appreciated that, and I stayed clear of them like he ordered as I was a kid. There's a rare plate, So, there are things like that. What about you, Badger?
Yeah, for me, collecting really started for like adult collecting really started around 2016, 2017. I started with some of the lines that I had as a child. So I have, and I was born 80 end of 85, so I had a lot of 90s toys, but Galoob, Action Force, or it's not Action Force, Action Fleet,
Okay.
and also some 90s Joes, because those were a personal interest to me. Then when the pandemic hit and I was really bored, I was starting to watch. I watched my first YouTube channels on toys, and it had the effect of opening a door really wide to where I learned about 6-inch and what those were and all these other toy lines, and so I started to grab a little bit of everything. Then over the last few years, I started to realize, well, do I really have an interest in this or that? So I started to sell off a lot of my Marvel Legends and Black Series, and I took what was a large, wide collection and started narrowing it down to this is
Sure.
what
So
I
you're a much more focused collector than probably
compared
someone
to.
someone as chaotic as me, because there's
Yeah,
some of the stuff there's no rhyme or reason to. I just bought because it was cheap on clearance and I went cool, and there's no reason to buy it. But
yeah. A year and a half
like,
ago, I had a lot of different lines, and I just decided, nope, these are the few lines I'm going to collect. And for the 90s, like there's so many options that what I decided was pick one or two figures to represent a line. So I have a few of the Hasbro Star Wars, but other than that, I have like one Beast War and two Jurassic Park. So that helps me
do those
restrain.
mean something to you? Are those like toys that you had
Yes.
as a child or something? Is that why
Yep.
you keep them around?
Yep. I'm keeping one or two from a line that I owned as a kid.
Yeah. And just
And
real
that way,
quick, Brick something here says, I'm really curious about the data around the pandemic's lockdowns impact on toy collecting habits. Well, I'll
yeah.
tell you, the community at large agrees that a lot of vintage stuff, G.I. Joe and Star Wars, skyrocketed in price because during these lockdowns, which are just a myth to me because I worked from the first day, I never got off. Um, so there was no lockdown. I'm like, yeah, I would have loved to stay home. But nope, never happened for me. But yeah, I mean, I think it did get a lot of people into hobbies and crafts and collecting and things like that, and it continues now. And some people say that those stimulus checks that went out also all went to like purchase of frivolous collectible things as well. But yeah, so I just and then Brick is just saying that like Badger, it kicked off his 112th collecting habit. So well, that's really good stuff, guys. And you see, there is differences because Jesse, from the size of the room you're in, it looks like you could fit my entire house in that room alone. It's huge.
Yeah.
Is
So
that the?
I live in the lower section of a townhouse. So
Oh,
I have
okay.
this room and then a bedroom and a bathroom. So it's
Oh,
kind of
all
like
right.
a one bedroom apartment in a
Oh, I
way.
got you. It's just like one giant room, and then so it's
Yeah,
kind
and
of
I
an
have
illusion. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah,
but it is spacious, but it's not
yeah.
permanent. So I don't want to fill it up intentionally because I'll
Yeah.
probably move here too.
If it was me, there'd just be a shelf lining
I
both
mean,
those walls, and then
I've got a couple of shelves. You can't see them because they're
Yeah.
flush. There's a couple of shelves back to back to back going that way.
I'd be at IKEA going, you do a bulk discount there, bub. So
I mean,
yeah,
these are
saying it wasn't just lockdown for me, but the limited socializing and going out. So to fill voids, I assume many found other outlets. Sure, they started watching YouTube. Monkey see, monkey do. We see these other people enjoying their toys and having a great time, and we want in on the fun. So, you know how many times I'm watching a YouTube video and there's some really cool toy on it, and I just start looking on eBay. I mean, I've done it with on Jim's streams. I've done it on just about everyone's. Sometimes those prices are enough to scare me off. Other times, no. I'm like, I'm gonna get that. And most of the time, especially in the last year or two, it's just been like, I'd love to have that, but where the hell am I going to put it? You know? And we got a big thumbs up from Burke there.
It also helps depending on what your line is.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a little bit lucky because I collect 90s lines, so I get to pay a little bit less than all of you who collect from the 80s.
Yeah, it's great. And I hear, Power of the Force is kind of making a comeback, is that it's much more accessible. Plus, people who were kids at that time who had those toys and didn't really know about the classic toys are coming to that age where they're starting to feel that nostalgia, or they're getting into it, maybe collecting the things from their past as well. So, it's coming around. It's new again. But yeah, those are some really good answers. Now, anyone in the chat have? I mean, Jim said here he doesn't have an excuse. He worked from home since 2017. The bug just bit him. We've heard the Grindhead Jim Toys origin story about it was about the time when I think I started watching the show too, right? It was like right after Iconicon. Um, Jesse, did you know Jim before the toy streams, or no? You guys, you just started listening to him too around the same time, or
And
or were
Jim,
you from?
you can correct me, Jim. I'm pretty sure it was around Iconicon time last year.
Yeah.
And there was a stream, something caught my attention, and then I started to follow him, and then I got onto Discord where we started chatting.
Yep.
That's how I vaguely remember it.
Yeah, Jim just popped out of the stream as someone like Kieran Ball. You could always get a great warm welcome from Kieran Ball, no matter what stream you're in. Just say hi, and like he'll just personally address you, which is always just such a nice thing. Well, Jim is the same way. It seemed like every stream I was in during Iconicon, I'd see this grinded Jim guy, and he would just go out of his way to say hi to me, which I was like, hey, and then I think I saw his stream with either Tony or maybe it was with Michael Fridge. I'm not sure which one was the first time I saw him on cam. And I was like, oh, this guy does things. So, I started getting into it. Watching Jim get into superpowers drew me in. Yeah, I'm not surprised. And then Jim just said, Gojitron said he started his collection 2.5 in 2019 because I missed my old friends plus YouTube channels making him want stuff. Yeah, I think I remember. I think Gojitron was on Sal's channel from 2 Cent Toys, and he was explaining. Maybe it was Sal's channel or maybe it was Jim's channel. I'm not sure, but Gojitron actually, I think you sold all of your stuff at one point and totally got out of collecting, and you've gone and collected a lot of it back again. But that's something that's coming back around for you. Yep. And then Brick something saying, Jim, don't get me wrong, I had a massive Lego collection prior to lockdown, but the YouTube community and the resurgence of Masters of the Universe sucked me back into figures. Yeah. And then I met Jim in Kansas around 2018. Super nice dude. Javelin Klublinski. Maybe I got that wrong. I don't know. I mess things up, but welcome and hello. And yes, you're right. Jim is a super nice dude. Wonderful guy. So yeah, that's great. Thank you, chat, and thank you, Jorn and Jesse for sharing your collection stories there. Because one of the other questions I had is, and I think I actually talked about this before because I go right off script, no matter, no problem here. But it says, "What have you done in the past when things got to be too much?" And that could have been space related, financial, or personal. What do you guys have to say about that? Have you ever had a situation like that? I think I just said Kojitron for whatever reason. I believe he said on another stream at one point that he, sold it all, and then at some point decided he wanted to collect again, and that was in 2019. Uh, he missed his old friends and YouTube channels, making him want stuff. So that's as good a reason as any. Jordan, have you ever had to purge the collection?
Well, I'm currently doing that now.
Okay, and what's your purpose for it? Is it space? Is it um,
Space, and want to focus on other lines.
you want to focus on other things? Yeah, and that's
Because
pretty
I
much
have a bunch of different lines. I have Lego, Hot Wheels, Black Series,
yeah. I saw your
Battleverse.
your Hot Wheels wall. And when I was a kid, it was the same way though. I would put my Joes away for a while because the new cool thing was out. Um, and I'd be playing with He-Man for a while, but then one day I'd be looking for something, take a look in a bin or a box and go, "Oh shit, I remember these," and then it's then you're swapping it out and you're getting into that thing that you're used to be into. Weird Fantastic Toy Adventures, Bill, he's saying he's living it now. He has too much stuff and not enough room for it. But I can't bear to sell my stuff. Jim or Bill, I understand. I just went through that, and it's not so much that I can't bear to sell some of it, because a lot of the stuff on the stream, as I was pulling it out of boxes, there were plenty of things where I just said, "What the hell did I buy this for?" And I'm like a parrot. I'm repeating myself. It was because it was cheap. And then I thought maybe I would do something with it. The way my brain works too is like I'll see something, and if it's similar in scale to like 1/18th, I'll be like, "Oh, I can make a custom," or I could take that vehicle and I could transform it into this, and then it goes in a box, and I remember what my intention was when I see it, but I've never had my own space or somewhere where I could like work, like a workspace, where you could start a project and leave it. Usually I'm like clearing off a table or doing something. So you kind of have to like finish the project or else it's going to start getting like, you
That
find
too
things
is also
jagged.
part of my reason.
Yeah. Um, but Bill, I definitely, the feeling is real. There are certain things here that, I probably wouldn't get rid of. You see those things. I want to go into them farther. Is I want to go through these display cases I have where I actually have the things that I truly love on display. I may have posted pictures, but I'd love to pull some of that stuff down and do reviews or just have live discussions about that. So Gojatron saying, yeah, it was about 20 years ago when his daughter was small and he wanted more money. Plus, I was involved in a toxic online fandom, which bummed me out. Sold everything. Yeah, I understand. I understand. Uh, you know, I mean, there is that decision. You made that decision. You just sold it all off and got rid of it and moved on with your life. But a little part of it stayed with you. And then, many years later, that spark reignited. And I'm glad it did, Gojitron, because if it's one thing that helps get me through the weeks, it's hearing your voice and seeing the cool things that you're picking up. That helps me out. And then Bill, he still needs to start digging down to what he might have in that junk room. Hey, man, Bill, I'm going to say it right now. If you ever want to get into a junk for junk showdown, we'll, we'll both we'll both really dig in and just see what's like the oldest, craziest thing. I'm sure you probably win because you've probably been in the same residence for longer than I have. I've only lived here for about 5 years, so a lot of the stuff got handled uh, in the last 5 years or so. and in some of those handlings, I may have consolidated or reorganized things. But there are some boxes where I pop them open, and I'm like, that air you breathe when you pop the bin is 20 years old, just sealed in there.
That's a stream I would tune into.
Yeah. So there's Rolo, Master Maniac Mexico. There you all are. We've been hiding from you, buddy.
Howdy, Rolo.
So nice to see you, Rolo. There's some amazing stuff in there somewhere. It's like a black hole. Yeah. Things got a bit upside down today. Good to see you all. Well, if there's anything we can do to put a smile on your face, I'd be happy to do it, sir.
I can bring out the tiger.
This is a tiger-friendly place. This place, you could show that butthole all day. I don't care. It's not going to derail this. Not that there's much steam here, but I think we're chugging along. So Bill just saying hi, and Bill said, "Hang on, he's going to try and hop on for a bit, so that'd be fun."
So Will, I'll one thing I'd like to point out: sometimes when you're getting rid of parts of your collection, it does create new opportunities.
Sure.
So, for example, when I had Marvel Legend figures and Black Series figures, I didn't really have a connection to because I was still figuring out the lines. One day I was like, well, I'm going to sell this figure, but she's really cool. Maybe I should take some pictures of her. And then I put her in front of a laptop, and that's really the genesis for my photography.
Okay.
And I did again, the next every few figures I would sell, I'd stop and take a bunch of photos with them. So that was one opportunity. The other nice thing is, well, not nice thing, it depends on who you are, but when I scaled down my Joe collection, I got rid of the vehicles because I didn't have a connection to those. I got rid of Joes I didn't really know or didn't have. And as it thinned out my collection, I was able to take that money in that space and pivot to say, what I really want is just the Joes who were represented in the original Sunbow cartoon.
Okay.
And so I was able to take those resources in space and pivot to actually narrow down my collection even more and use those resources to buy it. So sometimes
I envy your decisiveness and your ability to be organized, because I am just so chaotic that I see them and I'm like, I like him too, and I like him, and I like him, and I just get overwhelmed. So whenever I see people like, I think Jim did a stream where he was bagging. Oh, and here it is. Hold on, we're gonna bring it. We're gonna disrupt the whole thing here. But when he was bagging all of those figures and putting everything together, I was like, oh, I wish I could be that way. This is about as organized as I get. I throw them in a bin like this big and all their accessories and everything. And I just hope that when I go in there again, it all works out. I just don't have the patience, I guess. I don't know. But that's why I am intrigued by those who possess the qualities I do not. I love seeing it. And, you're like, go ahead.
Well, that determination works both ways, because when I decide I want to scale down, like right now, I'm in a few months. Sorry, I think my dog's squeaking her toy. In a few months, I'm going to actually get rid of my vintage Joes and just keep my 90s Joes, because again, I made a decision to pare down. But the opposite effect of that is, like, when I was introduced to Action Force, the vintage stuff, I bought a lot of it. I got the ATV. Well,
did you really? Oh, wow.
Not the ATV. It's armored. No, it's not armored.
The APC, the Armored Personnel Carrier. That is such a sharp looking.
Yeah, the Z Force one.
Yeah. Oh my God!
It was in great shape, and I had some of the Jeeps and a lot of figures. And then I decided, I don't have a personal connection.
What put you on to them? Was it Tony Roberts from Analog Toys, or?
That's where I learned about them.
Yeah.
I honestly, as a kid, if you were to hand me a G.I. Joe or an Action Force vintage, I would go Action Force. They're more durable. Yep. I love the looks of them. I had times where my Joes, the thumbs would snap off, the arms would break, or the legs would break. With Action Force, it's like everything's a lot simplified, and maybe that's what people liked about the early 80s Joes. It was a little cleaner.
Yeah, it was
I
a
don't
little
know.
more simple and clean
Yeah.
and just kind of straightforward. You know, you knew who the good guys were, the bad guys. You didn't really have to have the cartoon. You could have fun with them regardless. But yeah,
And the durability, because when you hold like the AF3 Jeep and you hold up the Vamp, because I had the Vamp
mhm.
a few years ago, the Vamp feels like it's going to shatter in your hands. Whereas the AF3, you feel like you could throw it in the dirt and it would keep going. You know, and the wheels were rubber. Everything about Action Forces felt kid friendly.
Palatoy seemed to be a company that was very thoughtful. Hey, Bill, how are you? Welcome. You
Hey,
know,
what's going on, guys?
they purpose built all of their toys to withstand rough play, and and they really did
were
that.
so,
Maybe with the exception of those like cardboard bases and stuff like that. I mean, obviously, everyone knew when they were buying those that they had a limited shelf life. But yeah, I mean that Action Force line is something I've probably like if I won the lotto, I'd pick it all up because it's just great, especially that SAS stuff, the black and yellow. Oh my god, I love it. But the shipping is kind of what kept me away from that. Did you find yours like in the U.S. or
I found a lot in the
did you
U.S.,
pay the
but
shipping?
I did order some from the UK, and sometimes
Yeah.
the shipping isn't bad. If you go
Okay.
economy, it's not terrible.
Yeah, you just gotta wait a little.
You have to pay attention to sellers because just like in the US, there are some sellers who know what they have. There are others who misrepresent intentionally, and then there are others who just don't know what they have.
Yeah.
And when I got the AF3 Jeep, I thought I was getting the SAS variant because it was painted that way. And they're like, "Oh, I found this collection in my son's room or whatever." And then I got the Jeep, and I realized up close it was totally painted, and it was actually the Z Force Jeep. So I had to scrub off all the fake paint, and
That's cool though. I like it. I like it, and you got a cool story too to tell. I love toy.
well, I didn't know how to
hunt.
do it.
Yeah.
And I actually took the opportunity to send a message to Toy Ploy and was like, "How do I fix this?" And he's like, "Oh, here's an old video you could fall back to, and I recommend this." And it was like, this is a fun community. I like this.
Yeah, that guy's fantastic. Well, that's a cool story. I really like that. It's almost like a toy hunt story, but on eBay, which you don't hear too often. It's usually pretty straightforward. Bill, how are you tonight?
I'm
And
doing well.
that's great. Had fun on the stream yesterday, so thank you
Yeah.
for that. That was a lot of fun, and always a pleasure to talk to you. Do want to give you a heads up if you weren't here in the beginning of the stream. We've got a little bit of a little surprise package there heading your way, Bill. So yeah.
Well, I don't advertise this very often, and I probably won't advertise it again. So those of you who are here, the end of this month, September the 30th, is my birthday.
Oh.
So the package is coming right on time. Then
I
have been spending money that I shouldn't be spending on myself because of my birthday. I got a couple of things, recently that Masters of the Universe book back there I got for a really, really good price over on Buy Brick something. We'll see you, man. But yeah, I got that for a good price on Amazon. I used my Amazon points plus it had been reduced in price, and I got it for like $12.
Yeah.
And
I love those custom heads.
Yeah, well, as you can see, I've got Clamp Champ here. I got him today. He just arrived today, and I'm going to get I've already ordered it, and Leah's got it in the mail to me tonight. A custom Clamp Champ head for him that's made from a vintage head, so he won't be grimacing. He'll have his mouth closed here soon. So
that is great.
But yeah,
I love easy customs on those too, right? It's easy to change the arms and the heads.
Oh yeah, they just pop right off,
Yeah.
and Lee does an excellent job on his heads. I think he uses a Dremel tool of some sort to drill out the hole. Now, admittedly, I mean these are customs that they can be loose at times, but there's tricks to tighten those up. Usually, I just put a piece of paper towel in there. That's all it takes.
That's great. That's great.
But You know, you were talking about what could be back here in the back or underneath all of that junk that's back there. I've got several years ago, I started collecting the things that I wished I had when I was a kid. And it started with Evil Knievel because that was something that I wished I had. I wanted the Evil Knievel
Sure.
stunt bike, and I wanted all the crap that went with Evil Knievel. Evil Knievel was my hero when I was a kid. I used
Yeah.
to watch it on.
I think I
what-
had like a Captain America variant of that stunt bike, or I think it was a Team America variant for Marvel.
yeah, I mean,
Same thing, same toy, pretty much.
but you know,
Uh,
they've re-released that stunt bike over and over and over again. But the stunt bike that they keep re-releasing is not the original stunt bike. And like I said, Evil Knievel was a hero of mine. He came on Wide World of Sports every Sunday, and he would crash, and sometimes he wouldn't. And whenever he crashed, he always seemed to come back. And then he disappeared because he beat up a guy with a baseball bat who wrote a book about him. But that's another story. But I always wanted those Evil Knievel toys, and nobody would ever buy them for me. Or if they did, they would buy me something that I didn't want that was
yes,
almost that, but it wasn't that.
Bill, you just made me remember. I had a there's this like fun story just from when I was a kid. I had a Evil Knievel, like just a diecast, a small diecast,
Mhm.
motorcycle. But one time when I was a kid, I mean, real young, but my dad and my uncle, we went fishing and we like hopped the fence of some reservoir where you weren't supposed to fish,
Mhm.
and they were gonna sneak in there. And I brought my motorcycle, and I'm cruising along on the rocks along the shore. Anyway, within like 5 minutes, we get busted. And they're like, "You got to get out of here." And I
You
left
can
that
take me off
motorcycle
the big
there.
one.
Oh yeah, yeah. And I left that motorcycle there, sitting on that rock. And for years, I mean decades, I would think back, and I'm like, "Can I find it? Can I find that parking spot along that huge reservoir where And I never did, but
Oh, of course
uh,
not. But
yeah, Evil Knievel was the man. Yeah,
he was in the day he was the man, and I began getting the old Evil Knievel toys, and I've got them, just a whole bunch of them back here. I've got the scramble van. I've got a couple of different bikes. I've even got the Sky Cycle, which I customized with stickers with all of his endorsements that were on the actual Sky Cycle itself. And I need to bring that stuff out, but it's back here somewhere. But
yeah, that's
God,
some really nice looking stuff,
and I've
it would display
got a
really well.
I've got a fully working ROM the Space Knight. I always wanted that simply because I got the first issue of the comic, and on the
Hmm.
back cover of that was that ad for it. And then you saw the ads on the TV, and it played it up. Now, of course, when you get it, it's a disappointment.
Yeah,
But I wanted that toy, so I got it. It's up here. I can look at it right now. I
there's
can see
kind
it.
of like those dragsters in a bottle you had, where
Well,
it was just a
I'll tell
gimmick,
you what.
but they looked
I've
awesome
got,
in the
I,
ad.
yeah. Speaking of ads, I've got a video that I probably need to set up and just release. It's out there, but I'll release it myself too. But it's great. It starts out with this guy who's in a commercial to eat cereal, and he's dressed up like a pirate. I call him Potty the Pirate. But anyway, it's basically one of those PSA movies where he tells us how the ads work and draw us in, and I'm going to put that up probably this week, just for the hell of it, because I've got it, and it's out there on YouTube. But I think it's
Was it
public domain.
kind of like a consumer advocacy type of video? Like,
Well,
what was that
it looked
show?
like
Remember that show, Fight Back? It was a
yeah,
show
well,
like
no, it was
in
more
the
like something
80s.
that you would watch in a classroom,
Yeah.
in the
Oh, okay, okay. There was a show in the 80s called Fight Back, and it was this guy, and he just did consumer advocacy stuff. Basically, if there was an outlandish claim in a commercial, he would
yeah.
test it. Kind of like a MythBusters back
Well,
then. So it was
this one
definitely
here,
based on
he
like,
starts well in this one here he starts with the cereal commercials, but he moves on to toy commercials, and the toy commercials are especially poignant because you know, like there's one of them where you see the commercial itself, and they're not real commercials; they're just made for that little show. But the kids are like, and they're all excited, and then they have these jump cuts to this dragster shooting down the road, and looks like it's going 100 miles an hour, and then they show you what they actually shot, and then you see that it wasn't anything like what the commercial actually showed.
Kind of like the GI Joe Falcon glider commercial where they had
that's exactly it.
Souped up ones that are doing loops, and they must have been blowing them with fans or thrown them all day long just to get those two great
and of course we all remember the He-Man commercials, and you see the kids playing with their He-Man figures. And they would have these elaborate sets set up for them. And no kid in the world ever made something like that to play with this He-Man with. We just play with them in the living room or something. But
books and VHS tapes. I'll tell you, VHS tapes were like Legos for me. I used to build entire towers out of them. Sometimes I see them real cheap at a garage sale or something. I want to buy a box just to do one of my old classic VHS pyramids that I used to set up and play with.
Oh yeah. Well, we used to do all kinds of stuff like that. Cardboard boxes were my favorite. I would make all kinds of things, buildings, whatever. But yeah, but getting back into what I did, I just kept getting things that I wanted or I had. I remember having it, and I said, I want that again. And then the collection just began to grow like that. And then when these retro toys begin to come out, and I'm talking about like the Origins He-Man figures and stuff like that.
Yeah, is what? How long have they been doing that since like the resurgence?
Origins about 2.5 years now. Maybe 3 years was when it was 3 years ago that San Diego Comic-Con set came out with that He-Man and Prince Adam set. When I saw that, I was like, "Oh my God, I got to get that!" And of course, then the sticker shock of that was terrible, and I didn't get it immediately, and I didn't go to San Diego Comic Con to get it, and I wasn't willing to pay the prices that it was costing on the Evil Bay. But believe it or not, I did end up getting it after the figures were actually released into Walmart. Because I can very well, and it's on my blog. If anybody ever wants to go to Weird Fantastic Toy Adventures blog on Blogspot,
yeah, which is fantastic, by the way.
Yeah, there is a blog post where, and it was like at the height of the pandemic, and my wife and I had not gone out in a while, and we went to Walmart, and I go to Walmart and I get these He-Man figures and stick them in the basket. And there's a picture of the shopping basket with the He-Man figures in it, and I'm like. And I did the same thing with the Ghostbusters, the real Ghostbusters.
They re-released them. About 2 years ago.
Yeah, they did, and I have the re-release figures carded. I've never opened them off their card because I have the original figures. But and I bought a couple of the items from that. I didn't buy the Ecto 1 because I've already got an Ecto 1 and an Ecto 2A or whatever they are. Ecto 1A, the one from Ghostbusters 2. I've got those cards. I've got the whole damn Firehouse set.
So let me ask you guys this real quick, just as far as like a collection stream, kind of thing. Just, I listed some of the things I want to get out of my collection. So I have a clear goal, and I'm really trying to achieve that. And it'll probably take a very long time. These are not things that I could just do. I don't do these things impulsively. Like Bill said, some things it's hard to get rid of. Other things, there's just other reasons.
Everything I bought for a reason.
Yeah.
So it's like all this Doctor Who stuff back here. Why Doctor Who was and the old stuff still is one of my favorite television shows for various reasons. And when I was a kid watching Doctor Who, I always wanted toys, but there were none. There's no toys for Doctor Who, and there were a few over there in England, but I couldn't get those. And I can remember being a young man, not a kid anymore, but a young man, and I saw that DePaul had released those toys, and I had a chance to buy some of them, and I bought those, and what a disappointment that was. But when Character Options got into releasing the original series figures, not the new series that came out in 2003 or 4, but the Tom Baker and the original Doctors, Peter Pertwee and all that. I had to get all of that stuff because that was stuff that I wanted when I was a kid, but I could never have. And the figures are awesome.
Yeah.
And then, and you know, I played this guy up, Phil, over at the what is it called, Action Figure Theater downloads, had created all of these wonderful little dioramas that you could download and put together after you put them off on paper. And I made all these
Yeah.
different. And what's unfortunate is I have played that guy up for years, and I featured him on my blog. He can't keep his site up because I think he just can't afford the bandwidth that site was getting. So he's taking it down for right now, all the downloads, and it's just a blog right now. But
Yeah,
I
it's
hope
sad.
he'll come back with that.
Or
But
maybe, you know, when he created that site, there might be easier or better ways to do it now, you know, because it was an older site, right? So
it was, and I think he actually had it. Had bought the domain and all that, and he was I
yeah.
don't know what
Yeah,
host
it'd be
he.
nice to try and figure something out to keep those really creative and wonderful
Well,
files, you know, kind of relevant.
I
And
tell you what he ought to do, and it would be absolutely FREE, is go over to NeoCities and create a NeoCities site, which is
sure,
NeoCities is a modern day version of GeoCities. If you're old enough to remember GeoCities, you may
I
not be,
do.
Jesse, I
Yeah,
don't know, but GeoCities was the first place that many of us created our first websites on, and NeoCities is the same thing. And of course, it doesn't have the robust capabilities that you would have with an actual Apache server and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, you can actually go in there and make a website,
yeah.
post files, the whole bit. You know, it's fun.
So overall, you know, guys, how satisfied with your collection hobby would you say you are? You know, I've put out there that, you know, there's 5 key things that I want to change. Um, w- First and foremost is space. You know, once I have space, I doubt I'll regret it. I doubt, you know, and if I ever get nostalgic for this stuff again, I'll, you know, it'll probably skyrocket in price when I want to buy it. But you know, who cares?
I
You
just
know,
wish I had a way to display everything I have, but I
yeah,
don't. So
I'd say I'm
I have to
probably
pick and choose what goes on display. And I do have a few things on display that probably will always be on display, like that monster scene that I have up there, that
yeah.
I really ought to get it down and just bring it down to the toy table and put it on
I'm
the
probably
camera.
50 or 60%. You know, like if 100 was like I'm living my best life, I've got my collection exactly how I want it,
Yeah, well,
and
I'm glad to have
you
what I
know, I
have.
have something.
I
I'd
just don't
probably
have
say
the
I'm about
space.
50 or 60. The stuff I do have displayed, I really like, but
Mm.
you know, I think
I
there
think I'm in
could be
the same boat.
improvements. Is
Yeah,
that
I mean,
right? You about 50 or 60?
well, let me tell you guys one thing that you don't do is don't put your stuff in a pasteboard box and stick it in a shed somewhere.
No.
Uh, I did that one year. I was young. I didn't know no better, and my wife went on a tear. She wanted to turn this room into a Christmas room for Christmas, and everything in it had to go. So we boxed it all up in pasteboard boxes and just stuck it out there in the shed. And I don't know, Jesse, when you get old enough, you'll understand this. I think Will probably understands it. Time slips away from you when you get to be our ages. It doesn't
Yeah.
move as slow
I
as it
think
does.
Jesse just looks a lot younger than he is, but
Yeah,
he's in a
time
realm. Yeah.
slips away from me. And it was probably a couple of 3 years before I got all that stuff out of that shed and back in the house. And when I did, I was appalled at the shape that it was in.
Now, Bill, I do understand what you mean by time slipping, but yeah, the climate up north where I'm originally from is probably, I'd say, a little more forgiving. You know, the cold isn't really the worst thing for stuff, but the heat and humidity really does do a number on things. And when I first moved to Florida, my sister had it was even better than a shed. It was like an old workshop. You know, it had like a a real shingle roof on it and electric and water in it. And the old guy who lived in her house before she moved there, so she said, "Oh, why rent the storage unit? Just use my storage shed." And this was only
Mhm.
for a couple of months. Oh my God, wrecked. So much stuff got wrecked. Thank God it was only small and I didn't put much in there.
Well,
But
The benefit to living in the Rocky Mountains is we don't have this thing where you have water in your air, which I understand is a real concern in other places of the world. But yeah, we with our low humidity, our toys don't tend to run into that issue. But being the Rocky Mountains, we have a very low population density. People are just starting to move out here. We don't have a toy culture out west, especially in the Rockies. People are just finally moving out here with these new tech jobs and everything because they want to be in the view of the mountains.
sure.
So we don't have the stores or the secondhand stores where you're going to find toys because they're people are having to bring them with them now, but there weren't any before. But what I'll say, because I'm going to jump off in a moment, but
Sure.
just going to your original point of where we feel with the collections, I'm very aesthetically focused with my collections. I want there to be little scenes, and I want to be able to switch them up. So, which is a big reason why I'm getting rid of so much and focusing hard on just
Yeah,
what I have.
I agree with you. That's something I want more of a display or diorama than just a lot of guys single file crowded on a shelf.
Yeah,
I appreciate people that have that. That's fine, but I don't. That's where when I said, like, for example, I want my display my toys uh, in a way that's accessible for me to enjoy.
yeah.
I feel like if you have like a setup like that, where maybe you take one piece out, the rest could fall over, or
And
something like that.
what helps me is by only having a couple shelves, I have locked myself into where I can only put so much up, and the rest goes in that plastic bin. And then I just tell myself in every few months, I think I'm going to take down that display and put up these ones.
mhm.
Yeah, I'd
And
like to do that too. Have some
having that kind of
universally like
Mhm.
panels built in for like I was thinking. I have Billy bookcases from IKEA, and they're pretty standard definition, and just kind of build the panels that fit in there so I could swap those shelves out. Right
Yeah.
now I have Batman on one of them, but I could do a He-Man display or a GI Joe display or whatnot. I think
Now,
that would be great.
unfortunately, even though I
Joji's home
just
from work. He has packages of new stuff waiting for him, and then he doesn't have room for. Yeah, we've been there.
Well,
unfortunately after that really nice thing that I just said about being really good about keeping it limited, I'm filling up an entire display with the same figure.
Yeah, you have Scarlet
I think-
Fever.
I think you're the only one buying those Scarlets.
At last
Yeah.
count through Amazon, I've purchased 14 of them.
Yeah. Hey, James Salzberg, how are you? Saying hi to everyone, and then Masters. I'm going to go back to what Rolando
I actually was
said.
on that stream with him when he did that. That was it's big elaborate display back
Yeah.
in his room there, and he had a Castle Grayskull and lights everywhere, and
So earlier when we were talking, Rolando said, I would never have gotten rid of any piece of my collection if it wasn't for his circumstances. Sometimes he
Yeah.
swapped things in and just gave them away, but he always found some way to display them. And then he said, keep every piece that's talking to you as a character and as a collector. So those pieces that you do feel something for, find a way to display them. Be creative and keep them.
Well-
It's supposed to be fun. This is
Yeah.
supposed
Well,
to be a fun hobby,
guys,
and if you're drowning in it, or if you can't have any fun, and that was the problem too, was like it got to a point where I wanted to change something up. It wasn't just, oh, I'll swap this and then put this in. It was, to swap this, I have to do 5 other steps because I need to make room in the garage first, and then I got to take that thing to the storage, and then I got to take that thing out, and then I could do that, one for one swap.
So well, I'm gonna bounce.
all right. Well, good to see
Jesse,
you
thank
there,
you
Jesse.
so very much. We're probably not going to be on for much longer, but thank
Later,
you so much
Matt.
for joining
Thank
me.
yourself.
I really appreciate your viewpoint when it comes to talking about this, and I look forward to doing it again. And when you get that house set up, I would like to jump on a stream with you on your channel if you would. and we could open up some Star Wars Power of the Force. I've got a couple things I'd like to open up too.
If you ever decide to open up that AT-AT, or you get a loose one to play with, invite me onto the stream, because I will just relive my childhood through you.
Oh, that'll be a lot of fun. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much, Jesse. Thank you.
Take care.
Well, one of the things that I like to do with my toys is put them on adventures. And if you go on my blog, you'll see some of those adventures that I've made. And I've made a few videos where I've done that as well.
Oh, they're great. That's one of the best things about your channel.
Yeah, I've seen a couple. They're pretty cool.
Yeah, if I had time, I would be making more, but I don't have the time that I had before to do that kind of stuff. But that's what Weird Fantastic Toy Adventures is all about. That's what I do with my toys is I put them on adventures, and sometimes they cross over with one another, and sometimes
they sing karaoke.
They do. They do.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I like to play with my toys that way, and I want to share that with other people, and that's kind of what I'm all about.
And that was the point where I was saying, split them in a way that allows me to be creative, but still remains practical, because like I was saying is I could build this elaborate, I could buy a bunch of foam and cardboard and build this, mega castle that's 5 feet tall and takes up the half of my living room, but is it practical? No. By the time I have fun with that thing, that's why even as a child, large play sets weren't great for me. I have a lot of brothers and sisters, so setting up that GI Joe headquarters in the middle of the living room was something that I was lucky.
I had that when I was a kid. If
I got an hour or two before someone came walking through the living room and tripping over everything, that was a miracle. So in the same way too, I do have a family, and they deserve some of the space to live in as well.
That's like the Eternia play set that they're going to be coming out with that we were talking about on Jim's stream earlier. And yeah, I think they're probably going to try to get as close to $1,000 on that as they can. I think they're going to try to take as many people to the cleaners as they can. But the thing is so huge, and as much as I would want to have something like that, there's nowhere to put it.
Listen,
I don't even
like the USS Flag or the Terror.
It's going to have to be a centerpiece of a collection.
Well, it would, but
you would have to have a dedicated toy room, which a lot of people do, and good for them if they have that. Like I said, it's one thing I missed about up north was most houses had like a basement. You could always finish that basement, and that could be like your toy room. Doesn't exist in Florida, but yeah. I guess
I don't even have the floor space to actually set the thing up if I were to have bought it.
No,
I was teasing Jim about it. Jim's going to buy it. I know he is, but it's going to sit in a box for who knows how long. And I know you're listening to me, Jim, and it's never going to get set up at any point, and that's sad. And as much as I would like to have something like that, what would I do with it? I would set it up one time, make a video, and then put it back in its box, and it never could see the light of day again because it's too big.
Yep, absolutely.
Now,
I think that's something
a Point Dread or a Snake Mountain. I'm all for that because
those are reasonably sized play sets, though, and they're easy to set up and to take down. And there's not too many.
And just like Castle Grayskull, the Snake Mountain just folds together, and makes a nice carry case, and you can go put it up somewhere.
Yep, and then James Salzberg and Rollo there just having a couple things. I just want to say to you guys, you guys are troopers. You guys are pretty amazing for going through what you do and making it through every day. I complain about this and that and the other, and kind of bitch about it, and I just want to say, guys, we are thinking about you, and we want to see you guys strong again. So,
Yeah, and I know that many of you guys may not be religious, but I do believe in God, and I believe in Jesus, and I pray for you guys every day. And
James Salzberg, pretty much reading my mind. That's pretty much me to the T. I spent too many years buying and putting stuff in storage, waiting to get a free room. Exactly. That was always the intention. Someday I'll do something with this. Someday something great will happen.
It's
But
like the people with model kits.
a lot of people do it with model kits too. I
Yeah,
understand.
and that's the thing. I don't know if you guys have ever gone to model kit collector sites and model kit collector YouTubes. They'll show you their model kits in boxes that have never been put together. And I like model kits, but I want to put them together. I want to paint them. I want them to look sharp. I think you guys have seen some of my stuff. I've got some weirdos back here, some of that Bill Campbell stuff from back in the day that got re-released by Hawk Models. I've got a Davy over here that he's a biker. He's got a motorcycle. He's a monster riding a motorcycle. I need to put him together and paint him up. I don't have time, but the whole monster scene set that's over here, those were model kits. They came white. I had to paint them all by hand.
And that is amazing. And that's one of the things, that I was saying is just about not having a workspace. You can't have, I don't know, painting for me is frustrating because you want to paint everything up. You got to wait for it to dry, but that's all taking up space. So if I had one dedicated desk that was just for my painting stuff, I could do it there.
I'm sure if I had Paula in here, she could tell you that when I was working on the monster scenes, I had taken over her kitchen table.
Exactly.
That's what I do when I just take over the counter.
And if you guys know anything about painting models, you can't slap that stuff on there. You have to put thin coats. You got to let that coat dry before you put the next coat on, and you got to dry brush it. And then if you do a wash, you've got to sit there and wipe the wash down and let the wash dry. And you got to make sure that you're putting a wash over very dry paint, because if you don't, the wash will just wash the paint back off of it. So painting models can be a tedious and long period of time because
it's never been having a busy thoroughfare. Gojatron saying he likes the idea of modeling, but he just doesn't have the patience. And for
you gotta
me,
have that. And James Salzberg says layer upon layer over many days. That's correct, because
I think I told you.
Peel right off.
When you're creating, sometimes you're doing something from scratch, or you're creating. Sometimes your brain just needs time to relax. So you might just set a project aside and let it sit there. I was working on this big diorama piece one time, and the inspiration kind of left me, and I came home from
Good night,
from
Nolan.
work a couple days. Hey Nolan, how are you? Is that a good night or is that a hello?
No, I think Nolan's been with us a while. He's just
okay.
But
yeah,
Rolo,
so sometimes
Rolo just said something that touched me there. He said, "Bill, believe it or not, a prayer always helps. It's like the warm hand of your mom on an aching stomach." And I love you too, brother. I love you too.
I'm sorry I missed that, but yeah, absolutely, I see it now.
Yep. Bjorn just accidentally kicked himself, I think.
Oh, okay. Well, he was. I heard some background chatter and stuff, so I thought maybe he was just getting. He accidentally got kicked. So if you jump back in, I'd be happy to re-add you. But I didn't touch anything.
You're close to 8, Will, but and I'll stick on for just a few more minutes. But
well, we're at an hour now, and that's about what I wanted to do. We did get through most of the talking points that I wanted to.
If you got some more, try to hit one or two of them if you got some.
Yeah, sure. So no, it was just really just asking you guys, in the past, what have you done? If have you been in a situation like I'm in, and what have you done in the past?
Living it right now.
Yeah.
I've got stuff in here that, and the YouTube channel is going to help Will with this.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to help me, and it's going to help you having these YouTube channels, because if we actually get up off of our lazy patooties and actually start digging into what we have, we've got fodder for so many different shows.
Yeah.
And just as Jim keeps telling me, he said, just make a show about getting into that stuff.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, even like some of the stuff behind me. It's just weird stuff. So I figured I'd just do a video on it because
Well,
it's been
I can't.
sitting in
I
a
can't.
box for 20 years.
Yeah, well, I can't.
I could sell it for $5, or I could just make a cool video and just show everyone, and they could
Cool
enjoy it.
video. Cool video.
Yeah,
I
I'm so much
wondered.
more for
I
the
wondered.
experience than just for the buck.
You know,
It really doesn't mean much
I
to me.
wondered for the longest time, because I know everybody came to my channel for the Motu stuff that I put out, and I wondered, well, if I move on from Motu, will I lose all my viewers? Maybe, maybe not. Who cares? But I think that people would just love to see us digging down into our collections and pulling out stuff like, you know how you do it. You get in there and you go, oh, hey, I forgot I had this. This is
Yeah.
cool.
Yep. And like I said, for the longest time, I was young enough where my memory didn't escape me, but I am getting to that time when it does. And then, yeah, the last thing was just, I brought these guys out and I just have them in the toy can here. Real quick, doing eBay or Instagram sales. But if you open them and make a good video, you'll get nostalgic feels for the 90s kids. That's right. Yep. So, it could be a combination of both, and there's got to be like a threshold somewhere where after looking it up and looking at what it could sell for. Obviously, if it could be a treasured possession for someone or a treasured part of their collection, I
You
wouldn't
have
just
to
rip
you
it
have to
open
understand.
and play
You have
with
to
it.
understand. No matter what you think something's worth, it's only worth what
Yeah.
someone's willing to give you for it.
And
And
sometimes those stories about KB will help. Yeah, James, they would. I'd love to talk to you about. I could talk about that all day. As always, I'm Bjorn Jorgensen, Sultan of Tigers, Great Tiger, Green Emerald of the Jungle, Tigers Grow Black.
oh,
and then
it's
he says, love all you guys do. When it's always the same, gets stale. Sure, and like I said, part of my favorite things to do on YouTube was the hangouts. Just when everyone was just hanging out and kind of having fun, and it was just like a free form thing. I think maybe some kind of goal or some kind of discussion point always starts it. But I noticed even some of the top tier YouTubers start a discussion on one thing, and they're off the rails and around the world and back again before the stream's over. Bluetooth's awesome. I'll finish the stream in the car. Well, thank you, Nolan. I really appreciate having you around. And Gojatron, he does vids on all kinds of weird crap, and he gains a few subscribers from every video. Sure. Whatever interests you, and sharing that interest with others is something that, I think everyone could relate to, especially people in our hobby. He will not do a video on Lego Tiger. Sorry, Jordan. And then if you tell someone the inside baseball that's selling toys as a KB GameStop to this guy, it does make it fun.
I've been thinking about doing something for you, Bjorn, and it's just for you. I'm going to get one of those little cheapy plastic tigers that they sell at Walmart, and I'm going to paint me a little pink flower right on underneath his tail, and box that up and send it back to you.
Well, like I was saying I said this to Jim off cam, and I said this to my son was asking me about these videos and such like that, and I told him my intentions are pretty clear. If I just talk to like 5 to 10 people, and it's all these people that I know from the chats and the toy community and stuff like that, I'd be forever happy. This is all I ever wanted to do.
You know what it feels.
It was a lot of fun doing the unpackings and talking to everyone and kind of sharing everything. And I'd like to do more of that. It's like therapy.
Do you remember being a kid and you go over to play at somebody else's house?
Sure.
This is what it feels like to me. It feels like going to visit and play. I can't play with my friends anymore because I'm a grown man, but I can come on YouTube and play with my friends.
Absolutely. And, and if anyone else watching in the future or someone, pops in here and they just see this goofy stream and they get any value out of it or learn anything, then that's just the icing on the cake. That's just the cherry on top.
Well,
really, this is a great way to, Jesse was saying earlier that, as he was selling his items, he was like, it got him into photography. He was kind of capturing those items as he was selling them off.
speaking of which,
That-
I need to get over there and watch his channel about toy photography because I do quite a bit of it myself, and I'd love to see some of his tips and tricks.
Yeah, he did a great stream on that, and that's great. So, so as I was packing toys back up, I ran across a couple of things, and I said, "Why pack them up? I'm just going to open these." And I spent yesterday just ripping into toy packages and setting guys up and having a little bit of fun, and that's what you see here. Is the Cantina play set that was based on the Mandalorian. That was the Navarro play set, which is it's okay. It's pretty cool. I think it's a little incomplete. They give you, this wall, this little section here, and even on the cross on the package, they encourage you to buy more. Which,
Modular, yeah, so you can put it together, make a bigger
yeah.
scene, and
So you
spend more
can,
money.
but I think it would have been nice if like there was two of these and two of these, and you could kind of make a half room or almost a whole room. But like I
Yeah.
said, I got that on sale. It was 40% off when I purchased it, and then you got some just characters here at the bar. I think bars are always a great place to check.
Well,
But yeah,
the original Cantina scene was iconic because that was the first time we'd ever seen something like that. Space aliens that were just hanging out in a bar, drinking a beer together.
absolutely. So I got a little kind of crew hanging out here. And and then I also brought this is Darth Maul. I posted him on
Yeah,
Instagram
riding
yesterday
on
with
his
this
scooter
little.
bike.
Yeah,
with
but you
his-
know what? This figure is like the only one from that collection that actually has like knee articulation and elbow articulation.
Well,
Yeah,
the Dewback Stormtrooper was unique because he had knee articulation.
which was great, and I'll go into that too. I have a Millennium Falcon collector case with a bunch of Power of the Force 2 stuff in there. But I think I told Jim, and I may have shown it on one of his Hangout streams. But at the time, they had released so many Darth Vaders that there was one where he sat in his little like hibernation pod. It was from
Mhm.
that one scene, so he had bending knees. So I boiled and popped him, and I took the articulated legs. There was another one where he had the removable helmet from Return of the Jedi, so I popped his head. Then there was one from I forget the other one, but he had articulated arms, so I popped.
So you made an
boiled.
ultimate Darth Vader.
Yeah, I made an Ultimate Darth Vader, but I had to take like 3 or 4 different figures to get it all together. And I think I even took the
And
cloth
that's
case
kind of
off
some of the
one.
stuff I like to do as well. I like to make custom figures. I like to make
Yeah.
the figures that I wish they had
Probably one of
made.
my oldest like customs or kit bashes, because I did that back in like '95 or something
Mhm,
like that,
mhm.
maybe '97 or '98. So it's an older one that survived the times, but I think we went through everything. I mean, I don't know if we.
Oh
That's right.
yeah,
Coach was saying when he was a
everybody did.
kid,
Well,
his
speaking of Power of the Force cantinas, there was a set, and I've got it somewhere. I just don't know where. And I had my hand on it about 2 years ago, and I still don't remember where it was. There was a pop-up cantina set that was made out of card stock,
Yes, there was a cardstock one. I do remember that. As a matter of
and
fact,
that thing is awesome.
on my Instagram, I think they had no. I'm sorry. There must be another one, but I had one of those like mini brochures that comes with the vehicles, and it had one of those listed in there. And those
I've got
are
one
pretty
here. I've
cool.
always been meaning
Yeah.
to pop it up and stick a bunch of figures in it and take a picture of it or maybe a video with it. But I mean, it's great because you can pop that thing up and like Gojitron said, you can have all your figures playing in it because it's three and
Yeah,
3/4
Goji Chan
scale.
was saying when he was a kid, his canteen was filled with figures from Flash Gordon, Battlestar Galactica, Staroid Raiders. Yep, and
And see, those Flash Gordon figures that came out back in the day,
oh my god,
the ones that were from that Filmation cartoon.
I had
Those are
the Lizard
awesome.
Man. There was a Lizard Man from that series. I bought it at, and this is really weird because I remember exactly, but like during the summer, my grammar school that I went to had like a flea market in the gymnasium during the summer, and I went there and I bought the Lizard Man. I didn't even know the Flash Lizard Man. I remember taking him off the card and I think breaking his arm or tail pretty quickly after. He was like a 5 POA, and I might have tried to overextend him, but yeah, that pissed me off. But I like that character. And then James Salzberg used brass rivets and an X-Acto blade to articulate a T2 Future War endoskeleton. Very cool. Very awesome. I don't know if you saw on Jim's Hangout, but I tried to create a Terminator out of an Arnold Commando figure using soldering iron and hot solder, and it turned out miserable. So I'm glad you had better luck with your first foray into that. Yeah, 5 POA is now 15 POA. I think it's even 21 points for articulation. Yeah.
Some of those Spider-Man
Flash
figures
and
have
Lizard Man.
1,000 POA in them, I think.
Oh, got him at Hills. Yeah, I thought it was so cool that the guy at that flea market had a whole table full of toys. I think I asked him like, "Where'd you get these?" And he's like, "What do you think, kid? The store." I just thought he was like magical, for having like who has just a whole table full of toys. It was really cool. But yeah, so I mean, the stream was supposed to be about just toys in excess, having too much stuff, and what to do with it. I think also like saying it out loud to the world at large, like what my goals are, kind of helps keep me accountable because when I keep it all in my head, I can lie to myself and just go, I'll do it next month. So now if I'm on a stream 2 months from now and Coach Try and goes, "Hey, Will, how's that sale going?" Or Bill, you say something to me. I can't lie to you guys. It's on tape. I promised I was gonna, I had 5 things I wanted to do, and that is, space is the number one issue. So I want to keep that going. Also, anyone that wasn't here earlier on in the stream, everyone that did make a purchase from me, thank you so much for helping me. I know most of you guys probably didn't need any of that stuff, and you just did it to help me out. So I am, very grateful to you. Bill, you have a little surprise package coming. You know what's in it, but there is a little gift for Paula. She's not around, but it's a little Spock guy. I know she likes Mr. Spock, so
She
I
does. Anything original series Star Trek.
Oh, okay. Well, it's a little minifigure of Mr. Spock, so I hope she likes it. I threw it in there because I remember that toy hunt video you did with Paula, where she seemed really happy to be finding a Mr. Spock, and
Yeah.
I didn't know what else to get her.
We
So.
actually on that actual toy hunt, we actually came home with the Amigo Captain Kirk and Mr. Spock that day. And I think one of them was carded. I think there was the Captain Kirk might have been carded, and the Mr. Spock was loose, but he had everything with him. And she wanted those particular figures because those were figures that she played with when she was a little girl, and she lost those in a house fire, and she always wanted to have them again, and we were able to do that.
Oh, that's great. That's great. And then Gojitron saying he does need that Hoth playset. So that Hoth and that Endor playset, they're really cool. And I'm glad I had more than one of them. So, I don't know. Gojitron, are you going to open those up and use them? Or are you just saving them as a completion to your collection? Because I'd love to see them open. But I know Jesse has said he's definitely opening his Hoth playset, and I did keep the other Endor playset just because I really like that door. It's the scene where Han is trying to break into the bunker where the shield generator is, and I thought that door was really great. And not so much for Star Wars purposes, but I just thought just as a general purpose, like.
Well, do you remember the Imperial base? It was a Hoth playset from the original Star Wars figure sets. It was called the Imperial base. I always wanted to get one of those. It didn't have to be complete, just the shell to make Superman's Fortress of Solitude.
Yes. I'll tell you though. I think. I don't know how much you do. Um, Roland was just asking about Jabba, but I did have the Star Wars. That bunker was repackaged as a GI Joe convention set. Now that
I
is
don't
some
doubt
toy
that.
knowledge right there, James.
Yeah, I don't
So
doubt
thank you
that.
for that. I'd love to see that. I did not, I didn't even know about like the Yo Joe fan club or any of those conventions that had gone on. Probably, they've probably been going on since the late '90s or even
Mhm.
earlier than that. But I wasn't aware of them until like 2018. I think was when I got back into toy collecting, or 2017, 2018. Um, Red Shadows it just sold. I just sold it 2 months back. So wow, 2005. So James, were you going to those conventions? Were you like on the scene with the GI Joe exclusives and everything? Because I see some of those and they're wild. Uh, and some of them they were produced by Hasbro, or I'm just blown away by them. But they're so rare, and
Will,
it
Will,
wasn't even on my radar.
I hate to do it, man, but I gotta go. I'm 20 minutes past bedtime now.
Bill, not a worry at all. Thank you so much for stopping in. I really appreciate having you here.
No problem, man, and we'll talk again sometime.
Yep. All right. Well, thank you so much, and I'll
All
see
right,
you next time, man. Get some sleep.
all right, all right. Bye, bye,
All
bye.
right. All right. Bye. So yeah, that's great. So yeah, James is saying he's been, uh, yep, they did them in Atlanta and Pawtucket. Sure. Jim Largo in the house. How's it going, buddy? Jim, just so you know too, your package is on the way. If you check that tracking number I sent you. By the way, yeah, Jordan, you could just go to the link in the chat. It's stored up at the top of the chat, and just come right in. You just have to close the browser that you were in for StreamYard, because like once you end it, that browser's no good. You just close that one out. You click the link again, and you just do the process over again. You'll be right in. So yeah, feel free. And Gojatron saying hello to Jim Largo. Yeah, that pirate ship is just great. So thanks, Gojatron, for letting me know about that. I mean, I've got everything right there. It won't let you with that link. Hold on, let me just. I'll post another one. How's that? Copy to clipboard. Boom. Click this link, and see how that goes. Pure. Atlanta in costume. So, oh, okay. So, James, you were saying you went to Atlanta in costume using the screen used Skullman suit from the Action Man live action bit from the 90s cartoon. There he is. And
Hey,
Bjorn's back. Hey, what's up? Yeah, I didn't kick you out, by the way.
yeah, that was me accidentally. I pressed
okay.
the wrong button.
Okay, you just went away. I didn't know what happened there. Jim has a lot of stuff on his way. Grindhead Jim and I packed a pro pack. Very cool, Rolo. Yeah. So, Jim Largo, you haven't been here for a while. So, what we were talking about is just excess in our toy collections,
Yeah,
and
what we want
how
out of it, stuff.
how we deal with it. So for example, Largo, I know you have a pretty good space for what you do, and I think you have a pretty good focus. Kind of like Jesse, where you're very specific in what you collect and what you don't want to collect, and your displays are more
Amazing.
thoughtful, I guess, and planned. Yeah, they're well laid out and planned, and not just kind of mine are a combination of just stuff shoved on the shelf. Uh, some scenes where I have room, but then usually what happens is like they'll start off as like a scene, and then I keep adding to it until I just kind of push everything into the corner, and then I just feel bad about myself for a while. So. Uh, Jim Largo, what are some of the things you've sent? I know you've sent stuff off to other collectors, but have you done much selling off of your collection at any time? Yep, and Largo, you have no problem culling the collection, right? Like if something's not doing it for you, it's gone, right? You're pretty good about that.
What I've been doing is if I can't think of anything for it in like maybe 5-10 minutes, it's
Mhm.
going.
Okay. And you do a lot on it's not chaotic, Will. It's eclectic. Yes. Yes. I like that, Carl. Thank you. Uh, and then Jim Largo saying thank you to Masters Maniac Mexico. So thank you for that. But yeah, it's an eclectic assortment of stuff shoved into the corner. But yeah, I do look forward to seeing what you guys do with those things. Jim's got a couple of kind of weird items from my collection, which thank you for buying. Um, and I hope he's able to do something really cool with them. It make me really happy knowing that. Jim saying he doesn't do a lot of selling. It's mostly, hey, granted, do you want such and so or so and so? Yep, definitely. And right now, like grinded Jim's in that kind of early phases of it that we've all been in. In minds like but he has plans for the future, so he's buying stuff now with future plans on where it's going to be and where he's going to display it. But you know, I've been on the start of that adventure, 20 years ago, where I, had this kind of grand toy room planned where I was going to have everything displayed and do it. And that's never really happened for me, but it's not like it could happen for him next week, or in a month from now.
It's gonna happen for me. I'm gonna have a toy room, but as of right now, I can't because I'm still at home taking care of Grandpa. And when
And sure,
that
yeah,
day comes, which I hope is not anytime soon,
of course, yeah.
I'll be
No,
able to get my own place and
yeah. I mean, I love this
do that
stuff,
whole
but
thing.
if it meant even a human that I don't love so much, I would value them over my toys probably.
Well, they're
And
just
have
bits
them
of
come. And I've
plastic
done
at
it
the
in
end
the
of the
past.
day.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Jordan, you do a lot of selling on eBay. You do a lot of stuff. I know Salzburg has done a lot more selling.
I've
I
sold
was thinking.
exactly one toy on eBay.
Oh, okay.
I've done mostly trading with my buddy Chucky, who has the
Okay.
toy store.
Oh, well, you have access to that toy shop. It's pretty. Yeah.
So
So
I
Jim
trade
Largo
him stuff. I get
saying
more
culling the
credit, stuff
collection
like
is a
that.
little tough sometimes, but he tries to go by what displays really enjoy the most, and then on to stuff that lives in the bins. Yeah. Oh, true, 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 true. And I feel somehow Grindhead's future is the Kraken. Release the Kraken. That's very cool, and that might be a little hint there. I don't know if Rollo's giving us a little Clash of the Titans hint about Resurrection Toys, or
Well,
should I
like
not say that
Rollo
out
did say,
loud?
he can say yes to everything because it's
Oh,
not
that's
his
right. That's right.
responsibility anymore.
That's right. Release the Kraken. So, like I said, this has been a great conversation, guys. I really appreciate you
Love to
guys
do it again
popping in
sometime.
and hanging in there. Yeah, Jordan. And then one of the things that I want to say is that you know, do you think Largo's popping in? Hey, Jim Largo,
Hey,
how are
Largo.
you?
Evening, all. Figure
Yeah.
I can chat faster than I can type because of my
Oh no,
fat
it's
thumb and
great.
my skinny keyboard.
Yeah.
How's your shoulder doing, by the way?
Much better. Been doing a lot of ice packs, and I actually spent the day yesterday with a physical therapist and got beat up and feel a lot better.
Good.
That's good. That's good. Yeah. Well, Jim, I was saying before you came on that like Jesse, who was on earlier, you seem to be someone who has a much more focused and purposeful displays in your collection.
Well, I try. I've got a couple of interests, and I just kind of try to rotate around that. I'm a big geek of 70s and 80s stuff. So, Super Friends and some of the older cartoons were my biggest influences as a kid. And I grew up in the era as a little kid of, Fuzzy Head Adventure Team Joes and, the reruns of the old 60s Batman show. And so that kind of influences what I look at for collecting nowadays when the nostalgia bug hits.
Gotcha, gotcha. I don't know if you were here earlier, but I kind of laid out some goals for myself. As we got past the toy show and that didn't happen. I still want to. I don't want to lose that momentum. You know what I mean? Because I really, kind of opened my eyes and it lit that fire under me and it made me really want to improve my situation. I was telling
Oh,
Bjorn
absolutely.
and Bill that out of 100, I would say I'm like 50 or 60% satisfied with my collecting habit. That I think.
Yeah, one of my challenges, of course, being an expatriate living abroad, anything I get, I've got to order either online or through the friend of a friend system we've kind of built as collectors of, one guy sees something, it's like, hey, do you have so and so? It's like, well, no, but I kind of like to. But when things get shipped to me, I have a drop ship in Miami, and so things kind of collect there. So I don't just get one or two things that I can easily put into my collection. Like today, I picked up 7 boxes of stuff that have been ordered over the last few months. And it's like, oh, I guess I kind of need to make room for stuff. So it comes in fits and starts. And that kind of, right now I've got a bunch of boxes and I'm like, I really got to clean up. This is getting crazy.
and Jim, if you don't mind me asking, the people in your life, the people you share a home with, how do they feel about your collection or your hobby?
Well, with bemusement, I guess is the nicest way to put it.
Sure.
Growing up in a very different culture, most Guatemalan kids, if they're lucky, they get some fine Mexican bootlegs or knockoffs, depending on the quality, or they get some things from China, but they don't really see the kind of quality toys that we did, in the United States growing up and other places. So they don't really, they're fascinated, especially since most of my things are characters that are, worldwide recognized.
Mm-hmm.
So when I had friends or relatives come over and they see a really cool Superman or an Iron Man on the shelf that looks just like something they saw in a cartoon or a movie, they're like, wow, I didn't even know that existed. It's like, well, yeah, I get it.
Yeah, so that's really great. And then just going back, James, yeah, I will send you that PM. Thank you so much. Thank you. And I think it was that was me in the '90s getting Action Men shipped from the UK, large boxes via surface. Yep. And then Bjorn, very well, young Sarah. I see the Emperor has its agents everywhere. This time you strode my back, but I will be back. I don't.
I'm kind of scared now. I don't know what's going to happen.
I feel somehow. I think something happened behind the scenes here, guys, that I missed. Maybe you could help fill me in, but there's lizards, there's krakens, there's Imperial agents. Hey, I'm down. This sounds like a better plot than most of the Disney Plus shows I've seen recently.
Well, I'm very excited about the monster and kaiju rabbit hole that I've been wandering down. Of course, it's like I'm excited for what Jim and Rolo and the guys are doing, and then I'm thinking to myself, I've got to find another shelf for this stuff.
Yeah, what I really like the most about that is to me, it gives me that same sense of it's like a new experience, which, in today's day and age of just rehashing and reboots, we don't get so much. And, when they popped on the scene with these, the Predacon and Xenozilla and stuff like that, it's new to me because, no one's done anything that crazy, it's unique and new. And I think that's what's most alluring to me.
Oh, I agree. Plus the idea that because they are monster critters, they don't have to be any particular scale. So kind of like with some of the Jurassic dinosaurs, I love doing crossover stuff because when I do a display, I don't just throw things up on the shelf. I'm thinking, well, how do I make a scene with this? So I can see, Conan and a Xenozilla going at it, or, maybe get a couple Star Trek red shirts running away from a giant dinosaur or whatever,
Yep,
just
yep.
mixing
Yeah,
it up and having fun.
absolutely. And and then James Salzberg just saying also that he can't wait for that. Bootleg toys are great. It's so creative and usually things that you didn't even think of. And then Masters Maniac Mexico saying that's what happens to me if they found out that your collection probably worth their car, their house, and their wife. Woo! So yeah, um,
I love
yeah,
bootleg toys. I had a bunch
yeah.
of them as growing up as a kid.
And I think Jordan's kind of Bill. I'd say from Weird Fantastic Toy Adventures probably has the closest collection habits that I do too. I think his kind of chaos is very similar to mine, where he has a lot of stuff there. I find that like Largo and Jesse seem to be much more organized. When I see like other YouTubers, when I see like Retro Blasting or Analog Toys, and they're so they've curated their collection with such
Well,
purpose and
what's
focus.
funny though, Will, is, I come from I've done some retail work in the background, and I know you've done that as well.
Mm-hmm.
When I
Yes,
think
sir.
back on where I got into this, it was like, I used to do end cap displays and special, like at True Value hardware stores or Sears when I worked there as a kid. You had to set up certain displays, and you kind of want to make it look nice. And I think that's kind of where I got the mindset of, I set up displays kind of the same way I would an end cap on an aisle.
Yeah. Oh, James Salzberg just brought up a good point, and yeah, definitely, you like that aesthetically pleasing display. That end cap display, everything in its place and every place for everything. It's it's a really good way to look at it. And like I said, I start off that way, but then like I keep adding to it, and then it just starts like getting crowded, crushed, and I never take anything out. And that's my problem. Is I have no problem with acquiring things, but I do have a problem getting them out there. But yeah, as far as bootlegs go, even though it seems like to be done, Bootleg Toys Vietnam had a great channel. Yes, I was following Bootleg Toys Vietnam for quite some time, and I believe he is based in America and travels to Vietnam from time to time. So he might just be in a phase where he's, out of country for a couple months, or the channel could be done because there hasn't been an update, and it could be going on almost a year now. But yeah, he did have some really cool walkthroughs of some Vietnam toy shops. Really cool stuff.
Yeah, I'm noticing my workbench right now, and one of my biggest challenges is not so much the collecting side of things, but getting into the kit bashing and customizing. Because then you really do become borderline hoarder, because it's like, well, I've got these little pieces and this and that. And it's like, oh, well, I could use it on that custom or this or that. And now I have no space to work because I've got, little piles of projects and more on the way.
And I don't know if that's just from losing so much as a kid. Like I was always losing accessories. I just got like whole bags stuffed with bits from figures and things like that. And I just don't want to ever get away with get rid of them. Yep. James saying I remember telling my boss I don't need a suit in Paramus, New Jersey, telling me how to sell toys. I play with them. That's right. That was the headquarters of. Wasn't that over the Toys R Us headquarters? Was in Paramus, New Jersey there, or I think it was in Wayne. Maybe I don't know. It's it's over a year. He was teaching English over there, and I think he's back in the states now, full time since there hasn't been any bids. So, and then Rolo saying, "Come on, Will, there's so much potential. I would love to put you in contact with David and LPH, so you can see how to build a private toy museum." Oh, okay. I don't know who David is, but yeah, I would love to. I would love to. I could talk about toys all day. I mean, it's weird. Like when I talk about it, like the language and the conversations I have with you folks, these are words that don't leave my mind in my ordinary life, and maybe for a long time. So the rest of what I got goes there to be displayed. Oh, is that open by chance? Is that the place?
I think that's what he's referring to, but I
Yeah,
can't be certain.
Toys R Us. Oh, yeah, yeah. And then we've got Largo. We've got the Largo can people. I'm gonna make this big or say embiggen it.
Is that the Action Force stuff?
Still. Yeah,
These
that's a
are
beautiful.
these are some of the custom kit bashes that I did using mostly Action Force and a few heads from Marvel Legends and other sources. Just because
Yeah,
these
that
are
was
so
a
much
lot.
fun to play with.
That was a lot of fun, Jim. You put those up on Instagram, and Jim was
Oh yeah.
soliciting names for them. And come on, I'll
But
be damned. That second one from the left isn't Jordan right there, man. I said it once, and I'll say it again.
but to give you the how you say the before and after. So like this is the after where everything looks tidy, and I'm kind of working on stuff, and then this is the chaos that is my workbench, as you can see. It's like there is a
Lord.
desk under there somewhere. So that eventually becomes this, but not without a lot of
There's a process.
procrastination and aggravation. So
Now, Jim,
I did get
you
something
decide
fun today.
on names on those characters, or
It's on the back burner. I will eventually get back
Okay.
to that, but I've collected the names that were suggested. I think the only one that really stuck was everybody loved hot tuna for this guy
yeah,
due to the
I'll take that
the
one.
Aquaman
My
connection
favorite
with
is the
that
old guy there
mold.
right next to him.
Yeah, that's pretty
Oh,
funny,
yeah,
Jim.
that's,
As you're heading over to show us your latest thing, but
Oh,
I
yeah.
think hot tuna came from me and my friends. We were trying to think of the worst name for a band at one point, and
Oh, yeah.
and it's carried on through the years. Someone said like hot tuna, and we're like, yeah, it's the worst name for a band ever. But when I saw Aquaman, I figured code name.
So
Hot Tuna.
yeah, in my head canon, that's what everybody calls him behind his back because it's not something he would like. But I'm kind of working on a Legion of Doom because super friends. So some of these are older DC Comics or DC Universe classics. Some are some DC Direct bits. But I just got in the mail today Captain Cold. So
Very
he's
nice.
he's on there, and these two aren't officially members, but they're filling in a space because I'm waiting for things in the mail. Things are in limbo. And then I've got the old Justice League up here. So what I do with a display a lot of times is I'll get a back piece. Like here I have a really nice picture on canvas from a Alex Ross comic book. And so I collected all of the different figures.
Right? Mm-hmm.
This was from a comic he did called Justice, which he actually did after Kingdom Come. But yeah, same artist, same style. And I just love that artwork. And it's that classic look of the superheroes from when we were kids before everything got revamped and made dark and edgy. But so I went and found, all of the different Super Friends and Justice League members that are in the painting, and then tried to put them in and, match up. Or I'll do something like, I have another Alex Ross picture here, and Mezco came out with this great Golden Age Batman, but they didn't give us Robin. So fortunately, DC Direct gave us a decent Robin a couple years ago, and I was able to find that. And of course, you got to have Alfred.
I'll say, Jim, you've got one of the most unique, and like I said, just that way of displaying them. It has it tells a story. It's kind of grouped, and it doesn't appear cluttered. Everything looks like I said.
Yeah, that's definitely the key. Is I learned early on when you put everything on the shelf that you really like, you can't see anything because it's just a big pile of stuff. I've recently picked up this graphic novel. This Superman 78 came out earlier this year. It's a great story, and it continues the Richard Donner film story, where he would have gone if the powers that be in Hollywood hadn't intervened and gave us, the nuclear guy and Richard Pryor and all that silliness. So I've got a Christopher Reeve Mezco here, and he's actually reading an Action
nice.
Comics.
Nice.
And then
nice.
I've got Crypto
Jimmy,
hanging out with him.
Salzburg is saying pretty cool.
Thanks. Yeah, so I see something like that. I like to make a background and then say, well, what would go with this? What would be kind of cool? So that's kind of the idea. I've got a Iron Man classic picture here, and then a Mezco Iron Man with a modern villain, and then we've got Thor and Loki hanging out up here. So I kind of try to put a theme with it. It's like sometimes a picture will come first or a theme will come first. Like with the armors, it's like, how many?
The first thing I ever saw in your collection, and I was blown away when I saw it. I think we were talking about this on a hangout, right?
Right, because it's like I like the Iron Man armors, but what do you do with them? And then Disney, the Disney store came out with these Hall of Armor pieces, and they were fairly inexpensive at the time. So I picked up a couple sets, and that worked out really nice. So nice way to display them.
I think I even said to Jim, Jim and Jim Largo one night, it would be really cool if someone did that. And then Largo flips his cam open and it just shows me it. Like, It was crazy. Yeah, that was great.
This one's one of my favorites. If anybody ever read the old Invaders World War II heroes,
Gotratron saying that Hall of Armor is beautiful, and it is. I mean, I was blown away. It was like, I was saying, how cool would that be? And then Jim's like, oh yeah, I got this right here.
Yeah, I love this part because it's got, you can put some of the bigger guys, and you've got a rotating piece here.
Yeah, so cool. Yeah, such a great thing.
I odds and ends that I pick up and see what'll fit together.
Go back up what you were doing there. I got it interrupted. Okay. Everyone was pretty blown away. Yeah. Oh, nice.
I was a big fan of the Invaders, the World War II guys. So we've got the original Human Torch. This was a Marvel Select that came out this year. It's really pretty, really nicely done. And then the classic Cap with his old shield and Union Jack and the Submariner. And then got some Defenders up here hanging out. So I've got a Defenders comic book behind them with Hulk and Strange and the Surfer. I have another Namor because he was part of that group, but it's in a bin somewhere. I haven't dug him out yet. Another favorite this year was the Marvel Select Immortal Hulk. Beautiful figure.
That's a great, that is a beautiful Hulk.
So I found a really cool Hulk picture, put behind him, and then put the leader with him.
Is that just a print that you found online, or did you frame a copy?
Yeah, that was from Amazon. They had a set of Marvel prints. I think it was like $10 for 5 pictures, and it had Black Panther, which I've got up there.
Oh, very
with
nice.
A Black Panther.
Salzburg's asking if they make Wizard.
No, I wish, but I've never seen Whizzer or Spitfire. They've never made, and I keep threatening to try to do a custom, but it's on my to-do list, and it keeps getting pushed back by Action Force. But they were a great team. If you like the World War II era, it was a good comic. So, and everything's just kind of a smattering of chaos. I kind of went back down the superpowers rabbit hole, thanks to Jim, Grindhead Jim. Yeah. So I picked up a Wonder Woman, and I've got a Robin, and he helped me to find a old school Batmobile that I used to have in my collection back in the day.
I'll tell you, after watching Bill's stream with that, where he did the repair, and then your collection, you guys really are making me, you're heavily influencing me into getting into those.
Yeah, I'm having a lot of fun, and you definitely get the nostalgia feels. This particular Batman is not actually a superpowers, as you can see is loose here. This is an Argent. What's that?
Is that the one with the magnets?
Yes, this is made in Argentina by a custom custom artist.
Jim,
he did a really
great. Loves your setup. Just want to let you know.
Oh, thank you. So, this one, it's a resin cast where he took an original Batman superpowers body and then made resin molds and then put everything together with magnets. But he did a different head sculpt.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say that's a custom head sculpt if I can get it to focus. and that's why I tried it out. The quality is but it's beautiful to look at. Just don't touch it or it falls apart. The magnets aren't super strong. But what I was collecting and do collect are these DC Classic, DC Universe Classics, as they call them, from Mattel. You know, they're a 6-inch scale, which is my preferred scale. And so they put out a couple of these, you know, Super Friends style with the classic colors. We've got a classic Robin there. So once I get my Legion of Doom built, I'll be going back and putting together a more Super Friends era, you know, team to pit them against in some toy photography.
Very nice.
That's a project for another day.
Well, Jim, is this the first time you've shown this on a live stream, or no? It hasn't, right? I know we've seen some of these.
Pretty much.
Yeah, I know we've seen a lot of these, you know, during the hangouts and stuff. But
right, yeah, because my internet.
I'm honored to host you sharing these right now.
Oh well, you know, I enjoy hanging out and sharing with guys that I know that are, you know, like-minded and enjoy these things too. You know, like I say, most of the people here, they're like, you know, they're not much into collecting.
Yeah.
But I'm having a lot of fun. These guys I love. These came out recently. They're I cannot remember the name of the company, but they made these giant wolves. I'm a dog guy, so of course I like wolves. And they came out. I've got the gray one, and then I have this beautiful black one who's got a skeleton riding on him. Gandalf's in the background there, simply because he doesn't have another place to hide right now.
Yeah,
we got Conan picked up.
That Conan.
And this is one of my favorite Mezcos that have come out in recent years. He had us on a waiting list for a really long time, but when he finally came out, he was worth the wait. And really well done. Looks a lot like the Frazetta paintings as far as the head sculpt.
Absolutely, I was going to say it's like the Frazetta painting come to life.
Absolutely, they did a really great job. Hopefully, there's a company called Executive Replicas. They're doing a Red Sonja later this year, and I'm hoping she'll pair with him really nicely. And then these werewolf guys came out from a company I cannot remember recently, so tried to pick that guy up because who doesn't love a werewolf except maybe Moon Knight? And so that's kind of worked me on to the idea of going back for some classic movie monsters. So Egon's looking for a ghost, and we've got Dracula and Frankie there, and the wife, and Gojitron actually turned me on to these. These are from a company called Jada Toys. They're mostly known for die-cast metal cars. Yeah, but they recently started getting into these larger 6-inch characters, and they're really, really nice. So and we've got Hellboy and another werewolf fighting over the mystery machine while Scooby's looking for some snacks.
That's great. That's great.
So some of it's a collector. Man? Yeah, he's right there. You don't see him? No, I'm kidding. He's on his way. It is on order and will be coming, I think, later this year. It's supposed to release.
Now, this is interesting based on recent,
yes, this is one. Exactly. This is one that Tony from Analog has talked about. It is a RC-controlled vehicle.
Gojitron saying he's an influencer.
Yes, he is, and in a very positive way.
Put that on a business card. Just hand that out.
So this Humvee is actually, it's 1/10 scale, but it has a really nice detailed interior, which is kind of hard to see here in the dark, but fits great with Action Force because they're not true 1/12 scale. They're a little bit larger. So it's great. And it is a real RC car. I throw a battery in it and go scare my my neighbor's chickens with it.
I think Tony was saying, though, this one's being a full function RC car is very expensive, but rightfully so. Yeah. It's a full function RC car.
Right. It has it's got the suspension and electronics and all that. If you were to just, if it didn't come with all of the things that make it an RC car, it would probably be a lot less expensive.
What was that company when we were kids? It was Tamiya. I don't know, but they did RC cars. They were like $200-300 back in the 80s.
Yeah, that
And they
was
had a
super
bunch of
expensive
them.
at the time.
And yeah, that there was like a kind of a thing in the 80s where everyone was getting into them.
I love that swarm display you got there.
Oh my God. Yeah, that just pops.
Yeah. Never enough room for Swarm. I have more in boxes, and I've run out of shelf space. But
That
my
looks so
hope
good.
is one of these days to get out in the backyard and just put all of Action Force out there and have the troops marching or something. But the weather
Make sure you
is
don't lose nothing.
this is the rainy season, so that'll be something for when spring comes around. And we've got a couple of our homages. We've got our favorite other influencer back here. We've got a boxed. We've got the Sarge, and then we've got a boxed Tony over on the other side over there. I don't have a lot of vintage anymore from previous culls. I have one vintage Action Force guy left. It's an SAS, and I've got him up on the shelf along with some Battle Action Force catalogs. I don't know how well you can see
Very
those.
cool. I'll tell you,
So-
I'd probably give most of my non-GI Joe collection to just get like a nice set of like UK Action Force 3 3/4.
Oh man. Yeah, it's one of those things in the 70s. I was a kid. My dad was stationed in Scotland, and I got introduced to Action Man, Action Force, Doctor Who. And then I come back to the States. It's like, what are you talking about? I don't know what that stuff is. You can't get
Yeah.
it. That was
Yeah.
the years, before the internet and eBay and everything. So, I had fond memories of those things. And then, Doctor Who kind of had a resurgence on BBC America. And then, of course, with, Action Force and the Joes coming back, it's been a lot of fun. Brought back some good feels. There we have our
just seeing
favorite
everything
styling and
together.
profiling Australia.
It's kind of interesting how many figures have come out. It feels like it was just yesterday that like this Action Force thing, Wave 1 was just like being announced, and then look at all this.
Yeah, and it came out like gangbusters. Series 1 had a kind of a slow start, but once he got rolling, things have come out to just we've got 2 waves out. The 3rd series is on its way, and
Plus
even
the
more.
SDS.
Right. Yeah. So we're going to have some special guys coming. And then I'm looking forward to getting some more Garrison guys when he comes out with some other styles.
Did you get to snag that deal? I think Jesse posted that on Instagram a couple of days ago that they were doing a clearance on Garrison Cavalry. No,
the
Garrison Cavalry.
Boys.
Yeah,
I believe it was.
Dorkside had like a
Yeah,
sale.
I think the Epic Badger has cornered the market on movie Scarlets. I'm happy with just the one I have, but he's done every variant, and they're really beautiful. He does some great custom work.
And he's getting more for more customs.
Oh, absolutely. You might find this interesting, Will. This is one of the few challenge coins I still have in my collection. It's not an official one, but it's official for me because this was the state of most of my time in the service. It was either snafu or
Fubar.
Fubar.
Very nice.
So one or the other, pretty much every day. That's how it operates.
And I love the doggo. The doggo addition to the Action Force is always a favorite.
Oh yeah, I mean when you look at Karak, I mean this is a guy who would have a Rottweiler, and so I picked this up from the Alien 3 pack from NECA. He's slightly over big, but I just figure he feeds him a little too much.
Well, you got to have that animal companion.
Oh yeah, I know Bobby Val is also a big dog guy, so I would not be surprised if we see a dog sometime in the future come into the line.
I'll tell you, I think you've got the nicest
Speaking of dogs,
Action Force setup I've seen.
Oh yeah, you hear my hounds in the background. We have a neighbor cat that likes to terrorize them.
Look at that. We've got. I love all these characters. I love Deadman, Constantine.
Yep, this was the kind of the Justice League Dark. The supernatural. Kind of like with Marvel, they have the Midnight Suns with Blade and Ghost Rider. DC's version was these guys with Deadman and Constantine and Zatanna. Some of these have, even Todd McFarlane has done a couple of revamps that are. I'm not a big fan of his 7-inch scale, but his John Constantine he just put out is really nice. So
Yeah, and in some cases, it's the best choice you have, for
exactly. So here's some of the classic comic book Watchmen, and a hole in the wall from where I was working on a project and haven't pasted it back in yet. I had a different picture up there. I'm going to go ahead and jump back off so I can see what he's barking at. It's probably the cat next door.
Okay. Yeah, well, thank you so much, Jim Largo, for showing us your collection, guys. That was great.
Yeah, I always like sharing with you guys.
I have seen a lot of that before, like we do some hangouts over on Grindhead Jim's Patreon page on the weekend.
He's shown snippets of it.
And he's shown snippets before, but that was really cool. And, that's kind of like as we talk about, collecting in excess, I think Jim is a great example of, doing it right. And if I had to rate his collection experience, I would say, he's like at an 80 or 90% out of 100. Whereas, like I said, I think I was being generous, giving myself 50 or 60%, and that's just your personal satisfaction. It's really just a arbitrary number there. It's not, tons of sweet stuff there. That's great. And then Patcher's Maniac saying, "Oh yes, I do remember those splendid days by the end of the '80s, where we all got on discount and then lost it." Yep. And James Salzberg, doing the demon there. Something popped up there. I'm sorry. Gone, the former man. Excuse my typos. Oh yeah, no problem, man. I definitely know what it's like. I know some of these guys, I think when we're in the chat or on their keyboards, and they really jam it out. Like I know Jim, he types stuff out real quick, but most of the time I have it on my TV and I'm fat fingering it on the on my phone and just doing a terrible job.
Well, as I've been going through the boxes that came in today, a favorite that came in was the new graphic novel, Batman '89, which...
Yeah, I saw you had messaged me about that earlier, but I was getting ready for the show. But yeah, that sounds really, really exciting.
It's... I have skimmed through it because I was watching Ken's live stream earlier and Jim's before that. But
I wasn't sure.
From what I've read, it's the artwork is really great, and it just follows what Tim Burton was doing with the first two films from that time period.
Okay, so this is like bridge the gap between the first two films?
No, this is more of a continuation after the second one with the Penguin and the Catwoman.
Oh, it is. Okay. Really don't like that. Coach John saying, making room for those Star Wars play sets that are heading his way. So that's pretty cool. Can't wait to hopefully
Who's
see
the
that.
villain of that book?
Two-Face, who was originally supposed to be played by Billy D. Williams.
Gonna say that. Did they do a Billy D. Williams Two-Face in the comic?
Not in the comic, yes. Unfortunately, we've never seen a figure, but I don't think we can. But I don't know how well this will show up, but
I've seen some concept art of Two-Face Billy D. Williams. Look pretty cool.
There's a picture from the back of the graphic novel, and very Tim Burton-esque. You kind of channeling, Billy D. from his Colt 45 days and Beetlejuice, maybe. So, and in this we have Barbara Gordon shows up, as well as the cat comes back, and the Robin he was planning to do, which
was that Jason Todd?
No, it's a mix between Tim Drake and an original character that Tim Burton was using. So he's not any of our previous Robins. Let's see if I can.
He's just an amalgamation of something.
That's a hardcover, Jim?
Yeah, this is a hardcover, and this came out as individual comics, I think, earlier this year, and then they just did this collected hardcover and just released about a week ago.
Oh
So
wow!
just got that in.
That up, yeah. I haven't read
So
a
I,
comic in a long time, and I think that's one that I'm kind of looking forward to. I'd really like to see the continuation of that story.
yeah, so far I'm impressed, and of course that inspires another collection. So we've got the '89 Batmobile in a collector's box, and then the Keaton Bat, who came from SH Figure Arts earlier this year. So at some point, the three of these will have a
I
shelf
like
there
that.
in
That
the.
was a great scene and a great pose for that figure. That's fantastic.
Is
Oh
that cape
yeah,
wired?
I
the cape
saw
has
a
the
bunch.
cape has two plastic extensions that he actually holds in his fists that allows it to extend out. I think he had something similar to that in the first film as well.
I don't normally go down the diecast aisle, but I think recently Gojatron did that Jada playset, and I was just kind of looking. I wanted to see if they had that over at my Walmart, and I noticed they had a
You
bunch of
should give him a
Batmobile
chance.
1/64 scale, but I think they were
Jada
20.
does a Jada does a couple of different scales. I collect the 1/24th scale, which is
They were
you
20
know
bucks each, I think, and they were like 1/64 cars, and on like a collector card. They could have been on the wrong peg, but I looked at them and I went, "Oh, cool!" Because they had like the original '40s Batmobile, the '89 Batmobile, and I said, "Oh,
Mhm.
cool!" And at 20 bucks each, I was like, not that cool."
The Jada ones, the larger scales, like these 1/24ths I collect, they're only about 20 bucks each, but you get a really beautiful model for your money. And if you're only picking just your favorites instead of trying to collect every Batmobile that ever existed, then it's an affordable line. I have
Yeah,
three. I have my three tops, which is the '89, the Tumbler from the Nolan films, and then the most recent one
which was the
from the
latest.
Matt Reeves film.
Yeah, I think I had said this maybe on one of Jim's streams, but when I saw that the newer one, it moved up on my list, and I think I did 66 Batmobile, um, 89, and then it was the Batman, and then the Tumbler was right behind it, and like kind of even. I don't know, but I change them all the time. I love any
Oh
Batman,
yeah. Yeah,
you
and
know.
of course I've got a '66, but I have that one in a different scale, thanks to Mattel putting that a few years ago. So, but
Hmm.
for these smaller scales, I've just got those three. But the Jada also did a '66 one as well, if you're into that.
Ah, very nice, very nice. I got the what was it oh, Salzburg is saying 66, 89, 92 cartoon, which I did leave out, and then the Tumblr. And it's a very, 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 very good order there. But I
Yep,
think we're all
that
pretty
is.
close. Yeah, that's pretty nice. And Rolo, I do speak Spanish. If that helps. That's great. That's great. And so yeah, he has a '66 Batmobile and a '76 Starsky. Nice. Scaltrix. There was one. I got it on a Big Bad Toy Store. I saw it on a video, but it was a 1/18 scale '66 Batmobile, and I picked it up. It came with like a 12 figures in a Batcave diorama. I think it was cardboard and everything. It was kid who made it, but I have it in a box, and I kind of didn't have room to set it up, so I just shoved it away. I was talking to Bill, I think off stream one night, and I was saying how my ultimate plan would be to get like a nice giant like wall unit or bookshelf, and at the top have Wayne Manor, and then on each shelf as you go down, um, kind of like the oldest Batcave, and then as Batman kind of gets more advanced and he digs deeper down, he's got those additional Batcaves kind of like under him. So maybe like the '66 Batcave is up top, or the '40s Batcave, and there's just sheets over all the old computer equipment or whatever, and he kind of goes down, and you just see like this progression with all the
Oh yeah.
Batmobile all the
With
things.
with your 3D printing skills, you could probably come up with something pretty cool like that. So I don't know how. I'm sorry if the lighting's not great, but I have the cartoon Batmobile here that DC Direct put out, and
I wanted that Batmobile
it is
because I have
beautiful.
Batman to go with it.
It is a shelf queen. It takes up a lot of real estate, so that's why it's up here in my other case. I've got a Mezco bat and a more modern Robin to go with him, along with the Commissioner.
That Gordon,
And then,
that
of course,
Gordon.
that Gordon.
Gordon a Mezco?
That is a Mezco. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's even got his badge and his gun and a walkie-talkie and the whole ball of wax. He actually came with a bat signal. We've got our classic 66 here with the Adam West. And then back here, what you probably can't see, I've got the Mafex Hush Batman with a more modern Bat mobile that I'll have to pull out in the light. And I've talked, this is the one I've talked about before. This is
pretty neat.
Put out by Spin Master.
Yeah, I have that one right over here. I have the RC version too. Yeah.
They designed it for a 12-inch figure to be shoehorned in there.
Yeah. Did I freeze or did Jim freeze?
I think Largo froze.
Okay, that's fine.
Well, for his purposes, because him putting as a display piece, that's perfect.
Yeah. Oh yeah, fantastic. And just Go to Trump was saying, Hot Wheels has done a ton of different Batmobiles, great for space and a budget. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, I have a bunch of different Batmobiles, Hot Wheels.
And he's saying it was Jim, yeah. And then Salzburg, see, whenever you may come, we did live the dream. All will benefit from now. We had our 15 minutes. Even more. And therefore, and because there is no way we go, as we have to remind them that life is a gift. It really is. It really is. And you guys, like I said, this is therapy for me. Just talking to ways or talking to people that speak my language. And Jim's back.
Sorry about that, guys. I knew I was pushing my luck. My bandwidth here in Guatemala is iffy, to say the least.
Oh, no, thank you so much, Jim, for going in there. And, you were talking about the lighting earlier, and I was like, that's a very Batcave vibe. I like the lighting. That was kind of cool.
Yeah, it's on my list to put some colored lights in there so you can see things better. But I've actually got that glass case up against some tiles that I have on the wall that look like stone, and it definitely has a nice Batcave vibe. So
yeah, definitely.
It wasn't intentional, but it kind of worked out.
It really did. It really did. So yeah, that's great. Well, I will tell you that I was ready to call it quits, and Rolo was like, "Hey, let's hang out a little longer," and we did. Because we definitely covered everything I wanted to talk about and more. And I couldn't be more grateful for everyone in the chat, for Jim and Bjorn and Jesse and Bill for joining me and talking.
Anytime.
Said this is just for fun. And, I reached out to Granted Jim before the stream because, like I said, I didn't want to. There were some things I wanted to talk about for sure, but one of the things this experience or, Jim getting me to come on and just talk with people is, one, this is a lot easier than typing, chatting with each other. And two, it's a lot of fun. It really is. And it's very therapeutic. Just like I said, speaking to people that speak your language is definitely a great feeling. It's you guys get it.
Yeah, and it's kind of fun from again, being an expat. I don't have a lot of locals who share my interests, so I found a really cool international group. It's like, hey, I found my tribe.
Yep. Yeah. So it's, and like I said, even
one of us.
Jim, one of us.
Exactly.
Google Gobble, we accept you. One of us. The reality, though, is I'm here in the Florida, um, and I don't run into a lot of people that I'll bring up stuff, and people are familiar with it. But I've never. Let's just say, in all my time of working, I've never run into someone and mentioned like my hobby. As a matter of fact, I usually don't even mention it. But if I do, people are like, mm, it just doesn't come up in conversation. As a matter of fact, one of my during the toy show, one of my coworkers came in to visit me, and she came to the toy show, and we walked around, and she was like, "People pay money for this stuff," It's like her observation of it. So it's
Yeah,
pretty fun.
that's one of those observations that people haven't really, they don't always articulate. But when people are like, yeah, this company should put out so and so because it's, there's so many of us that want it. It's like, there really isn't that big of a collector community. It feels big because we all know each other, but
Uh-huh.
in general, for a big company, I don't know how big of a customer base we really are.
Yeah, I don't think it. Um, like my boss told me this back in the day was because I said to him like, how is it that we are specifically like a toy retailer, but Walmart? Because like these industry magazines used to come into the store and stuff, and it showed like top toy retailers in the U.S. and Walmart was always number one, even when Toys R Us and KB were at their peak. And he just said, well, the toy department is like, it doesn't mean anything to them. They could charge less for things because mom's going to come in and buy you a toy, but she's getting her groceries here every week, and look at the way Walmart treats us now. We're kind of enthralled by them. A lot of us can't afford to go shop anywhere else. There's only one or two choices, and when you go there, it's the store is called, it's the cheapest price you'll get, so deal with it. That's pretty much the subtext of
Yeah,
Walmart.
when I think back to the 70s and 80s, it was very much a treasure hunt. You'd go out with the folks to go get whatever staples you need for the house, and you might run into a drugstore that has a Star Wars toy from one of the movies on a peg that's got some dust on it, or you might find a really cool car or this or that. You never knew what you'd find. And sometimes you'd get a gem, and sometimes you had some pocket money, and sometimes you could beg and borrow from the
Mhm.
folks for your next allowance. So that was kind of part of the fun was, going into these obscure places and finding gems. And, back in the heyday when we had KB and Toys R Us, where you had these, you know, great shops where you had a little bit of everything, and you could go back every week and pretty much know, well, these are going to be on the shelf. So if I don't pick it up today, I can pick it up tomorrow or whatever. Just don't have that anymore.
No problem, Jordan. That's great. Unless you want me to send you another link, that's great. But we're probably wrapping it up anyway. Yeah. And to follow up on that was just that I look at the mall now. If I go there, and it is 90, not 95% women's clothing stores. Maybe there's a couple that have. It's probably like three or four shoe stores or sneaker stores. There's like a Hot Topic, and there's like Hot Topic, Spencer's, Lids, and then there's like a mom and pop kind of like anime store. But everything else is clothing. And it's just that's what people are buying. That's where the consumer dollars are being spent.
Right. Even our little mall that we have here, it's pretty much the same thing. There's like one, computer store and 6 clothing stores for women and 2 shoe stores.
Mhm. No, and that's it. And then yeah, just our little hobby and what we do is a very small slice, and then the margins too. Like I remember I had a girlfriend that worked at Gap when I worked at KB, and we were talking about like margins, and like if a KB toy store was in like the double digits profit, it was like an amazing store. Um,
Right.
those clothing stores were like averaging 50 to 60% profit because everything was made in China, and they're selling a shirt for $50, and people are buying it up like
Right.
crazy. So
Yeah, and the few the few mom and pop toy stores that we used to have, they really struggled because, like you say, there's not a lot of profit in toys.
yeah. Oh man, even like at KB, most of the major toy retailers were producing, or the toy makers were making good products. But sometimes you'd have these like lesser known brands or cheaper brands, and we'd be getting returns on. There were certain toys where you like as soon as you sold it, you were like, all right, that's coming back. You know, I'm gonna drop the toy can there because my battery died. But and I guess we're going to go ahead and just wind it down, guys. Thank you so much. I mean, we went for 2 hours and 20 minutes. I was expecting to do like 45 minutes to an hour. So that last part of it is really 100% thanks to you guys for just joining me, having a fun time, and talking toys and doing what we do.
Well, always enjoy your company, Will. Thanks for letting me jump in.
Gojatron says we are Legion. We are not getting older. Bigfoot and Santa Claus exist, and he denies our reality. And you know what? I'm right there with you, buddy. Jordan saying goodnight. James just reflecting that when he was at Toys R Us, our baby clothes and snuggle blankets were or fat margin items. Hence, you had to walk through 98 feet of store to get to the diapers. Yes, that's exactly why they did do that. Just the same reason why they put the milk in the back of the store. Before we go, I cannot hold back at Jim Largo. There is paint in your pack. Let it glow, baby. So that's a little hint, Mr. Largo. You got some glow in the dark paint?
I understand that from Grindhead that Rolo really hates keeping secrets. But thank you, Rolo. I appreciate the extras, and I'm really looking forward to seeing those Resurrection toys. I've got my airbrush ready to do some customizing on one of them, and that's going to be fun. And I'll post some Instagram pictures as soon as I get that going.
Nolan, thank you so much. Now, Jesse Hughes did say that when he gets his package, he'd like to open that up, and I put a couple of Storage Power of the Force things aside too. And I think we'd be doing that on Jesse's channel. So that could be later this week. So stay tuned, everyone. Thank you so much. I wish you guys all well, and I hope to see or speak to you soon. Thank you. Have a great night.
Good night.